everyone. Before we get into today's episode, I want to take a minute to tell you about a brand that I am genuinely excited to support. If you have been listening to They Lied About Africa for some time now, you already know one thing that I talk about all the time. If we want to see more opportunities created across Africa, we have to be intentional about where we spend our money. We cannot keep saying we want to see that continent thrive while buying everything except from the continent. That's why I'm excited to partner with Sunyu Body. Sunyu Body was founded by Zainabu, a first-generation Senegalese American, to celebrate and share the beauty traditions of West Africa. They ethically source products directly from Senegal and work with local artisans, helping create economic opportunities while bringing authentic products from the motherland to people around the world. Right now, they offer authentic African black soap and traditional African net sponges. Their black soap is handcrafted using traditional methods with simple, natural ingredients. And their net sponges are the same style that's been used in West African households for generations. If you're looking for a skincare that's rooted in tradition instead of being overly processed, this is a great place to start. So whether you're reconnecting with your roots, you're curious about African skincare, or just want products that work, I highly recommend checking them out. Visit sunyubody.com and use my promo code TheyLiedAboutAfrica at checkout to receive 15% off your order. Every purchase isn't just an investment in your skincare. It's also a way to support African entrepreneurship and businesses creating value on the continent. Something we talk about all the time here on They Lied About Africa. Now, let's get into today's episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of They Lied About Africa. I'm your host, Numbe, and if nobody told you the real story, I will. If you grew up in the diaspora, there's a good chance you've watched your parents send money back home, whether that was to buy a house, to build land, or invest in something for the future, maybe your future. Maybe you've also watched the stress that came with doing that. Endless phone calls, delays, uncertainty, and simply not knowing who to trust when you are literally thousands of miles away. Even if we've always dreamed of investing in Africa ourselves, also, those stories can make that dream feel really intimidating. See, the problem is, though, fear has a cost. While many of us in the diaspora are sitting on the sidelines, Africa is changing. The African Development Bank projects the continent will continue growing faster than many other regions of the world, with more than 20 African economies expected to grow by over 5%. Meanwhile, the continent is becoming younger, more connected, and home to some of the fastest growing consumer markets anywhere. If we only inherit the fears of the generation before us without understanding how the continent is evolving today, we don't just miss out on opportunities. We risk watching one of the biggest economic and demographic shifts of this century happen from the sidelines. That's exactly why I wanted to have this conversation. Today, I am talking with someone who grew up in the UK, spent years on the ground in Uganda, and at just 20 years old, built a company that's tackling one of the biggest reasons so many people in the diaspora hesitate to invest back home: not knowing who to trust with their property when they can't be there themselves. So let's get into it.
My name is Imran. I'm a second year university student going into my final year. I was born and raised in London, but I spent a couple of years in Uganda. And then recently, around October last year, I launched my company, HomeLink Uganda, which is a property management company based in Uganda. But it's aimed more at like serving the people in diaspora, so the people abroad. So that's kind of like whether it's collecting rent or just managing small maintenances or around their building. And yeah, I'm a Man United supporter. I love my local Ugandan food, but I'm also a fan of lasagna. Some fun facts in there as well. I used to have a podcast myself when I lived in Uganda for a bit. I linked up with a Ugandan artist called Joshua Baraka, and right now he's Uganda's most streamed artist like worldwide. So that's also that was like the biggest side quest I had in Uganda, just meeting him and having that small little podcast as well. But yeah, it's great to meet you, and it's great to be on the They Lied About Africa podcast as well. And I'm excited for this episode.
Yeah, me too. Wait, you mentioned that you're in university right now. What are you studying and where do you go?
I go in Kent University, and I'm studying business information technology. So it's like computer science and business at the same time. You know what's so crazy? I had like a project management essay at the end of the year, and I just wrote about the business, and I got like a
Yeah,
90, and I was like, imagine we're just writing about stuff that we loved like at
I
uni,
know.
like the whole time, like we'd be killing it. But yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
definitely cool. It's definitely helped as
No,
well.
for sure. For millions of people across the African diaspora, identity is something they're constantly negotiating. Home isn't always defined by where you were born, but by the stories you grew up hearing, the food on your table, the language spoken around you, and the traditions your family refused to leave behind. Some people feel deeply connected to a country they've barely lived in. Others spend years trying to understand where they fit. There isn't a right or wrong way to experience that relationship, but for many, it becomes the foundation for everything that comes next.
My relationship with Uganda, I always felt like there wasn't a disconnect. Did that make sense? I always felt Ugandan. Like it was spoken at home. Not a lot. My parents, they came in when they were quite young, like 19, 20. So they were
Oh,
kind of
wow.
yeah, yeah. So that their accents were British, but like we'll definitely speak at home. And my cousin lived right next door to where I'm right now, and he was also Ugandan. So whenever we'll be playing outside, we'll be, whenever we're chasing after each other or saying Jakukwa means like I'm gonna beat you in Uganda. So we'd
Mm,
always have that like Luganda dialect, which is our language back home. We'll always be speaking that dialect. We'll always be eating the food. We'd be eating if we were living there. So I always kind of felt like connected to Uganda. I didn't go
mm-hmm,
back often. I went back twice before I moved there,
mm.
um, temporarily for a long time. But I always felt like I was Ugandan. I didn't feel like I was missing out on much. And even when I did go there, it was kind of like I've been there my whole life.
Yeah,
So yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I love that place.
I feel like a lot of people have that experience in the diaspora. They, they could have spent like 20 years in the West and then,
Mm,
because of the fact that they were surrounded by their culture constantly through their
mm,
parents or through their relatives, the moment they went back to the country that their parents came from, they
mm.
felt at home. And I think that's such a really interesting thing. It kind of shows you that, like,
It is.
you
It
know,
is. It
you can
is.
call multiple places home, or sometimes we have
Yeah.
places that are called home and we don't even know there are homes yet. It's just
Yeah.
something that
Yeah.
you're going to
Yeah.
discover later
Yeah.
in your life.
Yeah.
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 So you mentioned that eventually you started spending a lot more time in Uganda and you weren't just visiting family anymore.
Mm, mm,
You also talked to me on the phone a couple weeks ago and you mentioned that you were constantly on construction sites with your father and you saw the
mm.
industry up close every single day. What did those years look like?
Um. So I actually went there during COVID times, and by the
Hmm.
time I'd gone there during the pandemic, my dad had actually moved back to
Wow.
Uganda to start his own business.
Yeah.
So he spent like a year just kind of like laying the foundation down and just kind of trying to build his personal brand and his own brand himself. And like
Hmm.
I'd see him doing it, but I'd be like, oh, this is pretty cool, but I didn't really think much of it. But then when the pandemic came and everyone was indoors, we're like, really and truly, no one's working right now. Let's just go while this is all happening. We stay at grandma's place, we get our own place.
Hmm.
We just reconnect with the motherland, while this is all going on. So that's what we
Hmm.
did. Really and truly, the first couple months it was a culture shock for me. I had a big afro, so like there'll be people in the streets just staring at my hair. And
Yeah.
just growing up in London, we don't stare at people for too long. But like
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
Uganda, yeah, it's like a sort of like passive aggressive thing where if you see like you don't want to stare at anyone for too long. But like in
Hmm.
Uganda, there's not really that element of like passive aggressiveness or like let's say violence or anything. So someone staring at you, just them generally being intrigued, they're like, oh, he's got long
Hmm.
hair.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
first couple months was a culture shock, and in regards to seeing my dad at work, I've seen him work my whole life, as like a security guard in London. But
Yeah.
seeing him have that type of freedom in his own business back home, like he gets in the car and he just drives to like construction sites.
Hmm.
It was so cool. I was like, whoa, we could do way much more than like what's right in front of us.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he kind of launched it through like building his own personal brand, like how I'm doing it right now. I just like seeing when he was talking about like investing back home, and he also wanted to promote that as well. And the way he would
Hmm.
connect to people that had that like same mindset that want to invest back home, that were also like a bit scared and didn't know what to do. But then they would kind of have to break it down to like an emotional level or like a human basis, because we do have
Hmm.
those systems in Uganda where like you can acquire land and you can get like a tenant on board. But those systems, they are fractured. Like as much as we do love our countries back home, those systems are fractured, whether it's Senegal. You're from Senegal, right?
Yep,
whether it's
yep.
Senegal or Uganda, we love our countries, but the truth is they have some fractured systems. So sometimes you have to break it down away from the systems, away from the institutions, and just bring it down to like a human basis. Like, you can give me your money and I'm gonna deliver. So just seeing him break down the business and relate to them, and before you knew, it was like kind of everyone was like a little family. Like they're like, okay, you bought this for us, we're definitely gonna come back, and I'm gonna refer you to my cousin. And before you knew
Mm,
it, that turned into like a little ecosystem.
mm,
Some people, they would like hire him to like speak at events, and then they would create their own brand of like just spreading awareness of like you can build back home. And just seeing that
mm.
start from like day one till now was like so
Yeah.
inspiring, and just being able to connect to people in diaspora and tell them, we can come back home and we can do it ourselves. That
Mm.
that that was cool. That was cool.
Yeah. That's so
Yeah, it's
wonderful.
inspiring.
That's amazing. I feel like it's so surreal to see, someone who you admire as such as your parents, your father,
Yeah.
to do what he was doing in the UK, grinding and then going back and doing such a large
Mm,
impact. I feel like a lot of the times one thing that can be really hard coming to the West, from a country that is located in the continent of Africa, is a lot of the
mm,
times you will see people who have like degrees. They studied like such cool things back home, whether that was in Uganda or whatever
mm,
country, right? And they come to the United States in the pursuit of a better life, obviously. Sometimes those degrees may not transfer over and things of that sort. So they kind
mm.
of just have to resort to working a minimum wage job and do it for how long, no matter how long it takes.
Yeah,
Dealing with that on
yeah.
top of the narratives we may be hearing in the media right now when it comes to immigrants and how, you know, through this and that and this and that. It just goes to show you we are capable more than we think, because
A
it's
hundred
hard to hear
percent.
those
A
things,
hundred percent.
see those
Yeah.
things, like you transitioning from like a country in Africa to the West, and having to work a job that in your soul is not what you're capable of, and then to
Mm,
go back home and do something so impactful, so big, like it's really refreshing. And I think it's something really inspiring that I feel like the older generation could also like take a lesson from, because no matter how old
yeah.
you are, or whatever this country made you believe about yourself, you are more than capable of
Mm.
doing amazing things. And it's really cool that you got to witness that from your father yourself. So I bet that's like your motivation, your backbone, everything that keeps you going every day.
Yeah, yeah. In Uganda, we have a
Yeah.
saying, and the saying is "chisobaka," which means like it's possible. So like they made that their little slogan, and like you just hear someone say like, "Oh, chisobaka," like we can do it. And I
Hmm.
feel like
Hmm.
just I can only imagine what's like to like grow up in Africa, then move back, like move here, like or move
Hmm.
like to the West. Like, of
Hmm.
course, it can definitely be like inspiring, and like you can chase your dreams. But like
Yeah.
the reality of the West is you're gonna have to work hard, and sometimes systems are gonna push you to do jobs you don't want to do, or like
Yeah,
be in
for
places you
sure.
don't want to be at. So just
Hmm.
having to adapt to that and be like, even though I'm in this job right now, I'm not necessarily being conditioned to stay here forever. So a lot
Hmm.
of the times we have to just have that belief and courage to be like, you know what, let me do this for like
Absolutely.
10, 15 years and pack my bags and go try something over there. So I feel
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's definitely that's why I love this podcast so much, because they did lie about Africa. We can do so much more there.
The idea for a business rarely begins with a business plan. More often, it begins with a moment that refuses to leave you, a problem that keeps repeating itself, a conversation you hear over and over again. For many Africans living abroad, investing back home isn't held back by a lack of interest. It's held back by uncertainty. Years of stories about projects going wrong have created a level of hesitation that can be difficult to overcome. And eventually, that raises a different question, not whether people care enough to invest, but what it would take for them to trust the process again.
The other week I was working with a client. She's in the
Mm,
US. I would say her name, Madam Florence. Meet her very tight, so it's okay. And
yeah.
she built like a beautiful mall. It was a beautiful mall for people to come in, shops, salons, barbers. It was a beautiful place for people to come. But
Yeah.
then on the final stage of construction, she wanted to get like some electricity fitted in,
Hmm.
for the lights to run and for everything to run. But then unfortunately, those cables were stolen. Like they were left on ground and they were
Oh my
stolen.
gosh.
And
I've
you
heard
might
about
not,
these stories all the time.
yeah,
People just be
yeah.
stealing.
I know it sucks. It sucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you're working with these people, it might not seem like a lot because you're just working for them. You're just taking their money. You're delivering the outcome. But then
Mm-hmm.
when you've lived abroad and you understand how much it takes to get this capital and how much courage it takes to build something, you really
Yeah.
do feel it, and you're like, oh my God, I can only imagine how she's feeling right now. You know, these cables were
Yeah. Yeah.
stolen,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
know, so that's just like a perfect example. But like if I was working with her before, I could have given her the expertise of like, oh, by the way, don't leave these cables on site. You know, find somewhere that's secure to
Okay.
store them
So
away.
you
Or
weren't
when
working with her before this thing
no, no,
happened.
no, no. That
Got it.
thank God that didn't happen on my watch. But
Because I was
yeah,
gonna say, like, how did that happen? You know?
yeah. No, it didn't happen on my watch. But even like when you're hiring security, you know,
Yeah.
you have to
Yeah.
make sure the security that you're hiring is from like a company that has good reviews. You know, they've been security guards, them on one. You know, we take their ID, double check that they are who they say are on their documents. Because, like I said, we do love back home, but so many of these systems are a bit fractured. It's more than just going by the books. But yeah, sometimes you have to go on above and beyond just to make sure what you aim to deliver is actually delivered. So
Mm-hmm.
just by living in the West, you know, we have all of these systems, and they might not be perfect, but they are well thought out, and they've been here for so many years that like, you know, they work sometimes. But like in Uganda, you know, we're still developing, we're still trying, you know, we just got our independence less than 100 years ago. So we have
I know.
so
Yeah.
much progress to make up for, you know. So
Of
it's not
course.
like you can really blame the people and you can really
You
blame the
can't.
systems. We're just playing the
Mm-hmm.
cards that we're dealt, and it's step by step really. So yeah, that's one thing I've learned about the industry, that you have to go above and beyond, and not all the time you can go by the book. It's kind of based on like your lived experiences of like what have I seen from like a different project that could happen here, and what do we have to do in a different project that we could change here, you know? So that's
Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of,
Yeah.
yeah, learning on the job. I'm learning on the job, but yeah, it's great.
No, that's how it's supposed to be. How else are you gonna grow if you're not learning and actively making mistakes? So,
Yeah, 100%.
now let's get into like the nitty gritty of like how your business as a whole works. So let's say I'm sitting in London, Toronto, New York, right? And
Mm.
I own, or maybe I want to own property in Uganda, but I have no idea who to trust. And I call y'all. What's gonna
Mm.
happen?
I actually made a video a couple of days ago of like what I learned, I learned doing my maintenance jobs, and number one was understanding what your client wants or your client needs. For like just naturally as human beings, you know, if you have a business, you might jump at the opportunity to just take a job because the client's the client. Like just understanding that like you have to put the task above the money. Like, understand what your client wants. That's the first step. We want to understand you. Maybe jump on a phone call and understand the situation of, do you want to own this property, or do you already own this property, and what's going wrong here? You know, is rent not being collected, or are you not able to find reliable tenants, or are you sending money back home for like the tap to get fixed, but it's been
Mhm.
6 weeks and nothing's come back? So I feel like it's really just understanding your client and understanding, can we deliver? That's the first thing that we
Mhm.
do. And then the
Right.
second thing is if it is like a maintenance job, luckily for like the people that I know, my social economic people that I know,
Yeah.
we have so many different like contacts, so like maybe contractors or subcontractors that we could
Mhm.
use to help fix these maintenance problems, or whether it's getting these tenants in. Like I said, I
Yeah.
have like the phone book. I have a phone book of tenants that need to be placed somewhere. They're looking for a spot in Kampala, you know.
Mhm.
So that's the second thing: fixing the maintenances, or getting these tenants on. And then recently, we've actually been building a software, the HomeLink software. Most of the time, it's like WhatsApp calls and texts, like, "Oh, what's happening?" or I'm updating you through like WhatsApp or iMessage or Snapchat. But like with this one, the landlord can create a profile, and then he or she can manually log the payments that they've received,
Mhm.
or they can then onboard their tenant. So let's say you have a tenant, you can onboard your tenant, give them a login as well, and then they could push any maintenance requests they have onto you on the app, and then also onto HomeLink at the same time. So we both get the maintenance requests. So it's good to
Okay.
keep receipt of those things as well, and at the same time we're all in the know. You know, we all receive the email saying that something needs to happen, and
Yeah.
then if you do have like a vacant apartment, you can just push through a notification, and then we have like a brokers network list that can send
Mhm.
like alerts to the brokers. They're like, oh, we have a flat in Tinder that needs, you know, some clients in or some tenants in. So it's really just like about building that ecosystem and making sure that everything's smooth running. So yeah, we have
Yeah.
we have we have solutions for a lot of things.
That's fire. And that platform sounds really interesting because,
Yeah.
at least from my understanding, when I've seen people buy land back home, they'll just get it through like a Snapchat video, which is like very unreliable.
Yeah.
And then I've also heard stories of people sending the same video to you to like five other people to just get all their money for a land that apparently is, can be bought,
Mm,
and then they just like go ghost on them and they run with their money. Like I feel like trust is such a big issue right now when it
yeah,
comes to
it
doing
is.
these things. So I feel like having that platform and then building that client trust and word to mouth, and eventually like that platform, people will be so comfortable with using it, and I think they'll entrust you guys a lot. So that's really cool, that's really exciting.
I've been thinking about it for so long, but like I was just a bit afraid, like, oh, can I code all of this? But then when
Yeah.
I did release my first video, I received so much love and so many DMs from people, so many highly skilled Ugandans that are actually just
Mm,
looking for work. A couple software developers reached out, a couple marketers reached out, and I was like, you know what, we can create a group chat
perfect.
and we could build
Yeah.
this ourselves. So we've been doing
Yeah.
that for some time now. Even some friends at university, we've just have a
Yeah.
team of people we've been doing it for a while now. Hopefully we could launch sometime next month. But yeah, it's just fire. And I've realized the power of social media as well. We met through social media. You sent me a DM asking to
Mm-hmm.
come on the podcast, and I was 100% down for it. But the power of social
Yeah.
media is so important because as young people that maybe we do have these dreams of what Africa can look like, and we are ambitious.
Mm-hmm.
How do we reach each other, So I feel
Yeah.
like we shouldn't
Yeah.
be afraid to pick up a phone and be like, "Oh, this is an idea I have," because a lot of these times these big rooms where they can make changes, they are a bit old school and maybe not as open minded to growth.
Yeah.
So it's gonna take a new generation to be like, okay, we might have to do it ourselves, and
Mm-hmm.
we will with
Yeah.
time. We will. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, that's definitely so true. Social media has definitely been a holy grail for me. Like that's how I found you, like you said.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, we really have to connect with one another. It's crazy because the world is, I feel like, it's becoming so individualistic and everyone's just staying inside, being on their phones. But that's
Yeah.
actually our superpower at the same time. We can
Yeah.
use our devices to like communicate and meet with one another and create platforms such as this, and with the
Mm.
way the economy is booming in the next couple of years and these and having people come together to build something like that, like no one's gonna regret it. Nobody's
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah. Yeah.
regret it.
No one's gonna regret exactly.
Yeah. Now, one thing that stood out to me when we first started talking is,
Mm.
we were like halfway into our conversation, and you told me you was 20 years old. I was so shocked. I'm 23 right now,
Yeah.
right? And I feel like a lot of people at my
When did
age
you start the podcast?
last year. So
At 22, so that's like a year and a bit older than me.
I feel like a lot of people our age think that we need more money, we need more time, we need more experience, or we have to wait for the perfect time before we even like build something back home. Now, can you tell
Mm.
me, like, at 20 years old, what gave you the confidence to start?
Um, I feel like I don't know if it's a problem, but like I always feel like I like the deep end if that makes sense. There's so many things that
Hmm.
we could be scared of, but it's
Yeah,
like kind of like
I agree.
why? Like why would you make that a fear? And I feel like just
Yeah.
being in like some competitive spaces, whether it's like football or like I feel like even having to deal with like moving back to Uganda was like crazy. And just being able to
Mm.
navigate
Yeah.
those things and it's like, oh, at the end of all these things I do come up with a solution and I do work it out. It's like, oh, why can't I do this with a business? Why am I sitting on an idea I've had for so long? And then I generally just looked at the people around me, like my mom. My mom, she helps my dad so much. She's literally
Mm.
like his assistant or
Oh,
co-founder.
soulmates.
Like the yeah,
I
the
love
way they
that.
work is so beautiful. Like I hear her on the phone with clients at like 9 a.m. in the morning. I'm like, you're not even paid to do this, and she's like, I know, but I just know how to do it. So I'm like,
Oh,
I could do this, and you could be my co-founder too. I might pay you a
yeah.
little bit, but you could be my co-founder too. So it's just like
Yeah.
looking at the people that are around you, like, oh, we could build something right now. So I'm
Yeah.
definitely not
Yeah.
doing it alone. I'm definitely not doing it
Of course.
alone. But it's like, yeah, I don't like the thought of allowing fear to have such control over me or my ideas. So it's just like just doing it.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
like
yeah,
your
yeah.
age mates, like they're doing like a bunch of other things, or is your
Yeah.
friend group like surrounded by a lot of people who are also invested in
Uh,
entrepreneurship?
age mates. We've done stuff on social media before. Like I said, we had a podcast before, and I
Right.
know some people that have like some clothing brands. I
Hmm.
know some editors as well. So
Okay.
I feel like just the way that the world's moving, young people, we understand that we do have opportunities just in front of us. So
Yeah.
I feel like we don't have that fear of like having to wait for time or like the right opportunity, because the truth is I did pick up my phone and I did get my client from my first video, you know? So it's like,
Yeah.
imagine if I did let that fear overwhelm me, and the whole time I was
Mm-hmm.
like a video away from an opportunity. So
Yeah.
we do live in crazy times, you know? So it's just kind of like,
We do.
why let fear overtake you, you know,
Yeah.
if you really do trust yourself. So that's kind of
I agree.
that's my why, I
Now, let's say
think.
somebody in the diaspora is like watching this right now and they want to build
Yeah.
something back they want to build something back home one day and they just do not know what that something is yet. What is the one excuse or mindset you challenge before they, were to finish listening to this episode? And I know one of them you said is fear.
Look at what you're foregoing by like not taking the risk, or you know
Mm.
what befriending you could have on the other side of the coin. Like, let's say I
Yeah.
did invest back home and it did go well, and then 5 years later you're like on a beach in Tanzania, you know, because your business is doing well.
Yeah, yeah.
We do. I'm not saying like quit your job, because we do definitely need like stability.
Yeah,
For like
most definitely.
just working in the West and like, you know, maintaining a lifestyle is commendable. Like, you're doing a great job just doing so. So I
Mhm.
definitely feel like don't rush yourself if it's something that
Mhm.
takes time, because good things do take time. But like at
Mhm.
the same time, um, don't don't just not take the risk, or just don't just not do it. You know, think about the beauty of if it did all go right.
Else, it's easy to think about a country's future as something distant, but the future usually arrives quietly. One new business, one new road, one new housing development, and even one entrepreneur solving a problem that didn't have a solution before. By the time the rest of the world starts paying attention, the change has often been happening for years. Uganda is no exception. And for someone building a business there today, those shifts are impossible to ignore.
I feel like number one, the thing that excites me the most, it's not really like any business ideas, but the thing that excites me the most is just kind of like the infrastructure catching up to the people. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like Uganda, like, naturally is full of hustlers. The reason why we live isn't to work in Uganda, you know, it's very community based, and they just love to enjoy their life. But they'll definitely
Mm.
go outside and make something shake, you know, whether it's like selling something on the roadside, or I
Yeah,
do have
yeah.
some subcontractors I work with, and they've learned how to like lay pavers down or build walls, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So just like there's so many, they can do so many things without the perfect infrastructure, you know. They will go outside and they will learn something and then try their best to apply it to the country. So I feel like it's just like waiting for Uganda's infrastructure to catch up to the people's ambitions, you know, whether that's through better education or better housing or better job opportunities. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
that's the main thing that I can't wait. You know, I can't wait for people to be given more opportunities to put their ambition somewhere that's
Mm-hmm.
good for them. I feel like in regards to business ideas or entrepreneurship, I always go back down to like investing. I feel like a lot of the times when we are doing agriculture or real
Mm-hmm.
estate, we do it in a way that's very transactional. Like, oh, let me grow these coffee beans and sell them. But like, I feel like worldwide, they do stuff on like a big commercial basis. You know, if
Mm-hmm.
they're growing their coffee beans in like Brazil, they will take their coffee beans and then refine them and then outsource them and then sell them, and they'll be making like so much more money. But like in
Yeah.
Uganda, we're kind of like stuck on the first stage of growing and then selling, but we haven't gone through like refining what we have and then
Mm-hmm.
commercializing it and putting it into stores. So I feel like
Yeah.
there's definitely that big sector of us being able to be like, you know, we can take our own stuff and brand it, package it, and sell it to you guys as well. We don't have
Mm-hmm.
to sell out in a way. So I feel like
Yeah.
that's one thing, because our agriculture is massive, you know, and the people love to farm. It's what we've been doing. So
I love
just being
that.
able to
Yeah.
capitalize on what we do naturally as well.
Mm-hmm.
Even like in housing, there's this thing called rates. That's REITs. And that's a way where people can invest into like real estate without like actually owning any piece of the real estate. So it's like
Mm.
an investment pool type of thing. They've done it in Kenya with a thing called Kwetu. They built like some student accommodations, and then you could like invest in the student accommodations without like actually owning a piece, but like you kind of like fund their projects. And then
Mm-hmm.
they've actually
Mm-hmm.
made like a killing like in returns. So like I just feel like there's
Oh.
so many ways we can be like, you know, we can grow a sector without necessarily looking for aid or like foreign investment. We could do it as like a community where we're like, you guys can put your money here, it's safe, and we're gonna deliver. So I feel like
Yeah.
those are the two things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Commercializing our products and what we produce, and just like investing more into what we can do.
Yeah, I feel like especially
Yeah.
when it comes to agriculture, a pattern I keep seeing and hearing about is like we grow our own crops and we're so good at it, and then we're gonna sell it and export it just for it to get
Yeah.
re-imported and sold higher. For instance, I don't know if you've experienced this, but when you go back home, like, don't some people be asking you for some products that are like in the UK or somewhere in
Yeah.
the West? Whole time, the all the natural resources that were used to make those products came from like
Mm.
they
It
grow it
came from back home.
themselves.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
Like
and
we
it's
we
like,
have the aloe vera. Why are you asking me for the aloe vera cream? We have it there. You know?
yeah, for real. Like, why can't we just like grow it and then sell it to each other? Like, we feel like the
Yeah.
need to like always sell things back, and then at the same time, the people who are growing them are barely making a percentage of like whatever it gets turned into, and it gets
Mm.
manufactured outside of the continent. So on top of like them losing the natural resource and then like losing profit, they're also losing like economic opportunity to like have jobs, like, and things like
Exactly.
that. So
Exactly.
I think it'd be
Yeah.
really cool to see like people taking their own products and natural resources that have been stripped from us for generations now and like turning them into our own products that we sell with our own people. Like being a person from that place, making something for your people, to your people. Like I feel like that'd be
Mm.
something so interesting to see. I That's just one thing I hoped I see change because I'm
Nah, I
tired
agree.
of hearing can I
I
have this,
agree.
have that whole time like shea butter's growing in your backyard, baby. Like I don't know what to
Yeah.
tell you. Yeah.
I'm actually meeting up with like when I did make my first video, a brother called Rema reached out to me and was like, "Oh, I really like what you're doing. I'm actually like working in the UK
Hold
and
on,
I
not
want to
Rema
build
the
like
singer, right?
no, 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 not Rema the singer, not Rema the singer, not Rema the singer. Yeah. He's a guy that lives 30 minutes away from me in London. But no, he's a
Okay,
great guy.
okay.
He's young as well. He's in his 20s and he's working to like
Yeah.
build his own farm in Uganda, like a farm of
Oh, I
coffee.
love that.
And
Yeah.
just like him speaking about like how his idea of like we were just saying before, like commercializing the coffee, like refining it, packaging it,
Yeah.
branding it, and selling it. He was like, yeah, he wants to do that. So
Mm.
like just seeing people like that do stay, like he does stay in London. He does have a normal job, but like his ambitions are like bigger for the country. So that's
I love
that's
that.
that's great. That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
So we're not just talking. There's people that do have these ideas, and hopefully, like we said, the economy is booming. So the next 10, 20 years, they would have
Yeah.
done something by then.
If HomeLink Uganda is widely successful 10 years from now, what do you hope has changed about the way the diaspora sees investing back home?
I don't want them to see investing back home as like a black hole. It's like I don't want them to
Yeah.
see it as a place where their money goes to die. I
Yeah.
want them to see it as a place where like it's a landmine. They can send their money there and it does
Of
come back
course.
with the fruits of their labor. So I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I can do that by like implementing systems that work or changing systems that don't work and just you know um again and again and again consistently delivering on them putting their trust into me. So I feel like
Mm-hmm.
in 10, 20 years I want to be able to just have like I said, I don't want it to be seen as a black hole. I want it to be
Mm-hmm.
seen as like another investment opportunity, but not also an investment opportunity because I feel like a lot of the times when we talk about investing back home, we forget that these are real places of real people.
Yeah,
So
of
I don't want it to
course.
just be a place where like people send their money like, oh, I built this house with the money I've earned abroad. I want it to be a place where like I've invested this money back home, but it's also changing the lives of people in that country. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's creating job opportunities and it actually is putting money in the country's pockets and the people's pockets. And we are
Yeah.
seeing that development, like whether it's in houses, whether it's in roads, whether it's in, like I said, job opportunities or even education. Like I did one of my maintenance projects. And I don't have a project management qualification, but I was practically project manager in that little circumstance. So let's
Yeah.
say I hired a Ugandan to do that. That's actually qualified. And I was like, you know what? You're my project manager for this job. There automatically I've just hired someone, I've given a job and I've maybe fed a family or something. So I feel
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
we shouldn't just look at it as like an investment place where we go and we lowball the people that live there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's when we go back,
Yeah.
let's pay salaries that's livable.
Yes,
They can
thank
live on
you.
it, and it's actually like these are people, and we're actually. I feel like a lot of the times it's easy to send your money back home with the idea of selfish gain, like I want this, that, but it's like are you really uplifting your country and the people around you and the people that are working for you? Are you paying them a salary that is livable? Or are you treating
Yeah.
them like human beings in the process? So I feel like that's very important. You have to have your values when you do go back invest back home. So that's one thing about
Mm-hmm.
HomeLink. I feel like we have our values. I have my values as well. I don't just see Uganda as like an investment opportunity. It definitely is like a place I call home. Yeah, that's why I see in the next 10, 20 years if inshallah it is
Inshallah,
successful.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. I definitely think it's so important that we don't think about sending money back home as just a means to an end for like a selfish gain. Because at the end of the day, you're dealing with real people with real lives. And
Mm,
um, I also think it's important that while we are building things for the sake of like building the African economy, like we also deal with something in a lot of our nations where people are leaving their homes in pursuit of a better life. Like, same thing like your father did and my parents did and so many other people did, right?
mm,
And how can we, if we're in the pursuit of like building something, for the people over there, and they're still leaving, I don't think we're solving the problem. You know what I
yeah,
mean? We're not
yeah.
keeping the talent there. We're not reinvesting in the people. We're kind of just
That's
making
so
profit for
true.
ourselves.
That's
So
so
I
true.
definitely think it's what you're saying is so, so, so real. That's why, like, on top of like just simply talking, bringing people on who've done things on the ground or doing similar things.
Mm,
It's important that people also educate themselves on like history and like the people and maybe things that their
yeah,
nations
yeah,
have like gone through and things of that sort before they think about investing, because at the end of the day these are people with lives.
yeah,
And
yeah,
we
yeah,
can't just go in there with some sort of a complex thinking that, oh, I went to school here or I went to uni here and I learned this and that, I studied
yeah.
mechanical engineering, I can build this here, I don't care what anybody says. No,
Mm.
we can't be colonizers 2.0. Like, we have to think
Exactly.
better, we
That's
have to
exactly what I was
be
about to say.
smarter.
Because
Yeah.
what then separates us from the colonizers and these equity companies that come and buy out a company and pump them with debt or leaves them worse
Yeah.
than how they met them. Because before you know it, if we do go back with all of our money, yeah, we do displace the locals. A lot of people don't think about that, but if you do go back with Great British pounds and someone's on Ugandan shillings, you do
Mm-hmm.
displace the locals. So it's like, how do I go back and make one building sustainable? How do I build a house in an area where people are on a pound a day, and
Mm-hmm.
you're earning maybe £10 an hour? So the truth is, you are displacing the locals. And don't get me wrong, you have worked hard for your money, but I feel like sustainability definitely has to be taken into account of how can I build myself and preserve the country and build the country. So I
Mm-hmm.
feel like these are questions we have to ask ourselves and strategize and find a way to do it.
No, for sure. I wholeheartedly
Yeah.
agree, and I hope the generation, our generation, as they're like investing, that they're thinking about these things, that they're not being too selfish about it, or they're giving themselves
Yeah.
some sort of like a delayed gratification, so that like they don't think too much about the money,
Yeah.
and
No, I
for
feel like
themselves.
it comes through education though. I feel like it comes through
Yeah,
education. Like this is a great podcast to do it. This is a great podcast to do it. I feel like this can do really, really well. This could be a platform where you really do um inform people or just open the
yeah,
way people think. Because I
mm,
watched a couple of
yeah.
episodes and it was great things. I loved it. I loved it.
Oh, thank you. I
Yeah.
really appreciate that. Every episode of this podcast is really about helping people see Africa a little bit more differently than they did before they pressed play. If
Mm.
someone finishes this conversation and they decide to stop seeing Africa as someday and start seeing it as right now, what do you hope is the very first thing they do?
That's a great question. I think if they were to see it as right now, the first thing they should do is kind of understand Africa. Like I feel like Africa is much more complex in how it looks, and a lot of these
Yeah,
places are much more complex in how it looks. I feel like when you
it's
think
not a
about Europe,
monolith. It has like 54 countries and over 3,000
exactly.
ethnic groups.
So I feel like just understanding Africa and understanding your country or where you want to go, where you want to invest in, and kind
Mhm.
of understanding the way it works. Like I didn't know that tribalism was a thing until I went back
Really?
to Uganda. Yeah, like I didn't know that there was like I wouldn't say self-hate, but it's like some sort of like embedded self-hate. But like where does that come from? Where were we
Mm,
divided? Stuff like understanding your country or your continent and not just seeing it as a place
mhm,
on the map. That'd be the first thing. And then
mhm.
secondly, having the right intentions when
Yeah.
going back there and investing. And I feel like we definitely do need to have like some sort of like I would say capitalistic mindset in terms of growing the country because at the end of the day we do live in like capitalistic regimes and areas. So sometimes that is the system that might work. So you kind of apply
Mm,
like getting money, investing it and increasing it, but it's also like dispersing that money amongst your people and understanding what institutions can be brought forward to help the people. Like I was talking about tribal, like I didn't know tribalism was a thing, but like maybe
Mm.
when you do go back and you do want to invest in maybe build like an educational institute that educates the people of Uganda that like, oh, by the way, these are things that were put into our minds by the colonizers. Like we don't actually really hate each other. Like the things
Yeah.
that you think about them are kind of like determined things that we've just heard like growing up, but that really isn't the truth, and we
Mm-hmm.
actually are all one. So I feel like
Yeah.
understanding Africa and not just seeing it as like a place on the map would be the first thing. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's definitely so true. I feel like um when you really sit down and you think about and you listen to the stories of the people and how their nation came to be and things of that sort, I think it's so
Mm.
important to understand those things before you do anything, because you don't want to do
Yeah.
somebody and then
Yeah.
like you don't want to do something and then like I don't know, like kick some
And then you do
displace
the thinking.
somebody.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah,
you don't want
yeah.
to displace someone. You don't want to do something so ignorant that could have been simply been understood by just a conversation or
Mm.
having the right intentions and things of that
Yeah.
sort. So yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. Yeah,
100%.
for
But I feel
sure.
like sometimes that piece of journalism is so hard to come across because
Mm.
I was surprised I didn't know about it until I went there. Because when I did go there, it's kind of like everyone's like, "How did you not know that this was a thing here? Like we all live and breathe it. Like we all know it. Like we all know it's in the air. Like what do you mean you didn't have a clue?" And
Yeah,
it's like I don't know. No one told me. No one
yeah,
told me. So I feel like we have to make these things a bit more accessible to people abroad. Like I feel like a lot of the time we hear stuff about like I don't know what's happening in the US or what's happening in Russia or China, but like you've never ever searched it up. It's just media or information that's just given to us, you know. So why
yeah,
isn't the same thing about Africa given to us? You know, why aren't we educated automatically? So I feel like that comes down to like good journalism and
yeah.
like, you know, just educating the people.
Would you say like going on the ground is something that would help someone kind of
Yeah,
like
yeah.
with intentions other than going on vacation?
Being anywhere is like the best form of journalism or it's the best form of information, you know, experiencing something and seeing something is the best form of
Mm.
understanding it. So definitely going on ground.
Mm. I always wonder, like,
I wouldn't say invest in Africa right now if you haven't been there.
yeah, oh, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
Don't do
yeah.
that.
Like yeah,
Don't
understand the
do that.
place. Yeah, like educate
Yeah.
yourself, you know. So yeah,
Mm-hmm. I feel like a lot of the times, like, our age mates will go down there for, like, December, dirty December, or whatever, and they'll just
yeah,
completely, like, disregard everything else that's happening around them, which is, fine. It's vibes, Sometimes when you're out
yeah,
here, you're working and you want to be on vacation. That's cool. But I
yeah.
definitely think, like, sitting down, talking to people, seeing the problems they deal with on a day-to-day basis is, like, so, so important.
So that December, I can't lie. I've been partying in December in Uganda. I feel like it's good
Mm-hmm.
sometimes to take a step back and be like, hold on, you
Mm.
know, these Buddha guys, that Buddha Buddha's are motorcycle guys, yeah, that
Okay.
like maybe they're dropping you home after a night out, and you just
Mm-hmm.
pay them like £5, like
Yeah.
that is a
Yeah.
bit crazy. Let's think about it for a second. Like, okay, that is a bit
Mm-hmm.
crazy.
Yeah, or
Sometimes
like
you
you
just
go
have to
get
take a
your hair braided and you spend like 200 in the US, but then you spend like what, 20 back home. Like,
yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah,
And I
feels
do
a little.
understand there's like difference in like currency and whatnot, but like I feel
Hmm.
like we definitely sometimes have to like just be a bit more intentional with
Yeah,
like
understand these
what we're
people, like,
doing.
this is their labor, you gotta.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
I sometimes always wonder, like, with our generation, is there any way for us to, like, consistently go back and not just go for the sake of vacationing? Like, I don't know. I feel like there needs to be some sort of a, you know how people be gathering in groups and they be going places together, whether that's like
yeah.
umrah or they go on retreats and stuff like that. I think I recently seen like a group of kids in Philadelphia here in the United States that went back to Ghana in high school for the first time, and like they discovered maybe their roots and where they could have came from and things like that. The African Americans here, I feel like it would be so cool if like us and the diaspora like came together to do similar things. Like I just know
It's
that
a great idea.
yeah, I know
That's a
some
great idea.
universities technically do things like that. Like where I went to school, we have something called a dialogue, but like you take classes in that country and then like you'll go on little
Yeah.
field trips around the country. But when it comes to investment and entrepreneurship, it is so niche. Like even me, like I might have a million ideas, but I genuinely will not know where to start or like what
Yeah.
to do or like how to do what I want to do because like I feel like I need to be there, or I feel
Mm,
like I need to be educated in a way where I talk to the right people, learn the system from somebody. Like, even if it's just like
mm,
1 week, like
mm,
a bunch of people go as a group and they explore all these sectors and like how they run, how they operate, how the government limits them, how they give them, certain liberties and things like that. Like those little things, just like how you would understand to build a business in the United States or in the UK. Like,
mm.
it'd be so interesting to have something like that. But maybe in the future, maybe someday.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I feel like with understanding things like that, you have to be more direct with your research. Like you can't. It's not like a Google search away. I would say like
Yeah.
Twitter Spaces are a great way to go.
Hmm.
If you see someone like they're holding like a Twitter space on like real estate in Uganda and it's like on Thursday at 9 p.m. or something, like join that and like they will tell you they'll be discussing themselves like the real deal of what's happening.
Hmm.
Like you could reach out on LinkedIn to a lot of people that are in those industries and don't kind of go with the intention of, oh, I want to join this industry. Be like, oh, tell me more about what you do and ask like genuine questions. And most of the times, these people in these industries in Uganda or in Africa, they do want to talk about it. They're not platformed all the time, so like they are open to a conversation and they want to share, what their work looks like. So I feel like,
Yeah.
yeah, you have to be a bit more
Yeah.
direct with like your research. You're not gonna go and chat GPT. Oh my God,
Yeah.
I've used AI. I've tried to use AI for like so many things about the business. It's like, oh my God, that's just not
Yeah.
gonna work. That's just
Yeah.
not gonna
Yeah.
work with what I'm doing and what I'm doing it
Hmm.
at. So I feel like
Yeah.
some things you have to actually you have to learn.
If there's one thing I hope you take away from today's conversation, it's that building Africa's future isn't reserved for governments, billionaires, or people who have everything figured out. Sometimes it just starts with something much smaller: a conversation, a question, a willingness to learn, and even a decision to stop seeing the continent as a place you'll get to someday and start asking what role you can play today. See, one thing I really appreciated about speaking with Imran is that he reminds us that investing back home isn't just about buildings or businesses, it's about people. It's about trust. It's about creating opportunities that outlast us and making sure the communities we're building in are stronger because we were there. If today's conversation inspired you and you may be based in London, Imran and the HomeLink Uganda team are currently building a community of young East African entrepreneurs who want to connect, collaborate, and build together. If you'd like to get involved, send him an email at imranbakaluba@gmail.com. I'll also leave his email in the description below. And if you're looking for trusted support managing property in Uganda or want to learn more about HomeLink Uganda's services, visit HomeLinkUganda.com. You can also keep up with everything they're building by following HomeLink_Uganda on Instagram and at Imran Bakaluba on TikTok. If you enjoyed today's episode, I'd love for you to support They Lied About Africa by following us on Instagram and TikTok at They Lied About Africa, where you'll find behind the scenes content, additional research, clips from each episode, and updates on everything we're working on. Thank you so much for listening. As always, remember that Africa is never as simple as the headlines make it seem. Every conversation uncovers another story, another perspective, another piece of history that has been overlooked. And trust me, we're only getting started. I'll see you in the next episode.